Hey guys, doing a video on the first 5 weeks of my 60-gallon breeder setup. So this is the new setup that I did a video on just a little bit back. And here is everything I've done for the first 5 weeks by week. I'm going to show you everything I've added, when I added it, when I started my cleaning schedule, when I put in media, when I started adding fish, corals, and all that type of stuff. All right, so let's jump in and start at day 1. So the first video had the full setup of the equipment. Here we are with the equipment setup, and we are going to fill it with water and get going. So we're going to add, first thing we're going to do is we're going to add Microbe Lift Special Blend. This is the starter bacteria that I prefer. So I went ahead and put in this entire 16-ounce bottle of Microbe Lift Special Blend. I dumped it on top of my ceramic media here, which also went in. And I dumped it on top of my filter pads, which also went in. And I put just a little bit in the water column. Now for filter pads, I put in a 50 ppi, so very coarse pad. I put in a 35 ppi. Medium coarse pad, and a 20 ppi, which is a very fine coarse pad, and I just cut them to fit. Those were large sheets that I bought, and I cut them to fit, and I put them in back. I put them in the hang-on filter, the hang-on back refugium. So this is one of my hang-on back refugiums. I put them in the back there and just kind of stacked them from coarse to fine. That way the water would flow through from coarse to fine to trap different particles. And then I put my ceramic media along the bottom there. So here's what it kind of looks like from the top down. My 3 filters with the ceramic media along the bottom. All right, so here we get to day 7. So 1 week of just letting that water cycle with that filter media and bacteria. So what we did is we went ahead and added 4 damselfish. Now these are the Springeri damsels. They are not an aggressive damsel. I know most damsels are aggressive. This is not an aggressive damsel. It's actually a peaceful damsel. So I went ahead and put 4 of those guys in, nice and hardy fish to start adding to that cycling. There's got the bacteria in there, and these guys are going to help add to that bacteria. I also bought live Copepods to add to the tank. So here's some from Nutramax. That is 1 strain of Copepod. And there you can see they're all alive and moving around in that bottle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add these guys to the tank. When I add those guys, I am also going to go ahead and add this multi-strain. It is Tisbe, Tigger, and Apex. I bought this off of eBay from somebody that I bought from several times. As you can see, there are little critters moving around in there. Not quite as dense, not quite as big. These are a bunch of much smaller copepods. They're not mature like as in the other container. The other container was full of mature copepods ready to go. These guys are not. And there's 3 different types of copepods in here, which is great because I want that diversity. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shut off all that flow because we don't want to put the copepods in with flow. We want to give them time to grab a hold. So we're going to leave that flow off for about 30 minutes after I add them. So I'm going to take these mature copepods and I am going to pour some in on my side with the ceramic media so they can grab hold there. I'm going to pour some in on the side with my Chaeto so they can grab a hold and live in my Chaeto. And then, of course, some went into the body of the tank. I know I'm only showing there a little bit from each, but both of those got some from each. So the tank got some of the dense, mature ones, and the hang-on back refugiums got some of the non-mature ones in the 3 blend. Here you go. You can see them moving around. I just put them in. Right after putting them in, flow still off. You can see them moving around on my ceramic media. I want to give them time to settle down in there. So about 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes before I turn that flow back on so they have time to settle in and grab hold. When I bought the Chaeto that I added this round, it came with these amphipods. They were just kind of stuck in there, so that's kind of a free benefit. They'll get thrown in the tank along with the Chaeto. They're kind of packed into that Chaeto. This is the Chaeto here, so I got a small baggie of it. Here it is. I did just kind of clean it out, make sure it was nice and clean Chaeto going in. This is kind of what it looks like, and then it went into the other hang-on back refugium, the one that does not have the filter pads and does not have the ceramic media. This hang-on back refugium is dedicated 100% to Chaeto. So there it is in there. You can see it's a nice size handful. It's not a ton. At this point, I'm also going to start dosing live phytoplankton. That's about how much I dose twice a week, 1 capful. And I am dosing right now mainly to feed the pods. Corals love this too, but right now, obviously I don't have any corals in the tank yet, but those pods need to eat. I just put a bunch of pods in, spent about 50 bucks on pods. Actually, maybe a little more than 50 bucks on pods, and I don't want them to starve to death. So I am adding the live phytoplankton in order to give them a food source, as well as, of course, I will start feeding the fish, and I am feeding PE Mysis, the nice high protein version. All right, so day 21. So 3 weeks out. I skipped a week. I didn't do anything that second week, so we're at the 3rd week out. Did my first water change. I did 10-gallon water change. As you can see, I've had a little bit of algae kind of pop up, which is pretty normal. It's not bad. It's just a little bit of algae on the glass. There's a little bit of algae on the rock work as well. As we kind of scroll over, you can see a little bit of that brown algae just kind of growing on the rock work. You can see there on the glass, spots of it popping up as well. A little bit on the sand popping up. So we want to make sure we are proactive with that. We don't want to let that get out of hand. Once algae gets out of hand, it can be a problem. So we want to be proactive. Again, I did a 10-gallon water change. So this is at the 3 weeks in. I added 12 blue leg hermits and 6 red leg hermits. So I added 18 hermit crabs. That is under the amount that I need. I definitely need more than that, but right now that's what I'm adding. And as you'll see here in a minute, I added more in the near future. But this is 12 blue leg and 6 red leg. Let them start munching on some of that algae. All right, in addition to the red leg and blue leg hermit crabs, I added 12 astraea turbo snails. Again, this is undersized, and I will be adding more snails very soon. But I don't want the critters to starve. I don't want those snails and crabs to starve. I also added Chemi-Pure Elite to start the function of absorbers. I added Purigen to start absorbing, and I added Roaphos to start absorbing. And I also added carbon to round that out on my absorbers. At this point, I added in my first corals. I added a Monty. Yes, I know I would tell people never to do that. We'll talk more about that in a different video. And I added a Hellfire torch. Again, I would tell people not to do that at this point. You should use your tester coral, but someone with experience that can read their tank and has done everything proper to get the tank built up and the proper bioload in it. There's no reason why you can't jump into some easy SPS and some Euphilia right away. We'll talk more about that in another video. All right, so jumping forward to day 28, 4 weeks in. A few things here. We did another water change. I did 5 gallons, not 10. I also added 12 more red leg hermit crabs, 6 more blue, so that rounds out to 36 hermit crabs, 18 of each variety. I also added 12 more snails, and then I cleaned out all the filter pads. So I pulled those filter pads out and I rinsed them in water 4 weeks in, get all that soot out that they've been adding. And I added a Dragon Soul torch. Again, I would tell people not to do this, but we'll talk about that later. I started dosing Kent Coral Vite as well. A little bit for the corals, but mostly I started dosing it for the Chaeto. And as you can see there, it promotes health and vigor to stimulate growth in corals, anemones, gorgonians, and desirable marine algae, which is my target right now. Long term, it will be for the algae and the corals. This is just kind of the list of what's in it. And I wanted to show you here at this time, I did have a pod bloom. You can see all those little pods running around the base of the coral. So this is the dragon soul coral that was just recently put into the tank. And this is the hellfire coral. And you can see all those pods just running around on the sand bed, running around the base of that coral. And that's what we want to see. A pod bloom is a very good sign. All right, so this brings us to day 35, so 5 weeks in. Here's what I've done at day 35. If you haven't noticed, my water changes are weekly at 10%. I just feel that's going to give me a little more stability, especially now since this is going to have a lot more SPS than my other tank. So I want that little added extra stability. All right, dosing. I noted last week that I started Kent Coral Vite, and this week I'm starting in a couple additional things. I can't emphasize this enough. Dose for the stock and needs of your tank. Do not dose for water volume. All these products are going to have a suggested dosage by water volume. That is for a moderately stocked reef tank. Right now, if you just have a couple corals in your tank, you are not a moderately stocked reef tank. Please dose for what you have. All right, so things I'm starting to dose this week. Polyp Lab 1. This is my calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium. I am also dosing Polyp Booster. This is where my source of amino and fatty acids is coming from. And I'm starting to feed Reefroids to my coral. I noted that I added these two pumps, two Coralia 240 gallon per hour pumps. I added them to my hang on back refugiums, one per hang on back refugiums. Couple reasons. One, I was getting a lot of sediment. You can see my Chaeto is kind of at the top there. That was allowing a lot of sediment to settle at the bottom of that hang on back refugium. So I wanted a power head on the side pointed down towards the bottom to one, cycle flow really well, and two, keep the bottom clean. You can also see on the ceramic side a little bit of algae buildup on the ceramic media. I don't want that either. So I put one on the ceramic media hang on back refugium as well and pointed it down towards that ceramic media. That's going to give me good flow through the ceramic media, as well as good flow through the absorbers that I put in there. So here's what it looks like on the ceramic media side. You can see the absorber bags in there, and it's on the side pointing down. So we're flowing through that ceramic media and we're flowing through the absorbers. Here's what it looks like on the hang on back refugium that has the Chaeto in it. It is on the side and again pointing down towards the bottom to make sure I keep that bottom clean. You can see a little bit of the settling there. That's what the whole bottom was looking like that, and that's what I wanted to get rid of. I don't want anything settled on the bottom. I want everything up and picked up to be filtered out. So I added both of these, one on the ceramic hang on back refugium, one on the Chaeto hang on back refugium. So that was just to help keep flow through both of them, reduce sediment, reduce things settling down. All right, hopefully you like this video. Hopefully it gave you some ideas on what you can do to maximize over the first 5 weeks, when you can start adding fish and corals, when you should start dosing, things like that. Hope you like this. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, check out some more of my content, and I'll get more out soon. Thanks, guys.